Tell you what, if I hear Holy Toledo one more time, I'm going to burn all your chest hairs off. Next time you fucking do that.
You know what?
You're gonna
Based on that, I'm not afraid because first off, I'm Asian. There you go.
Oh,
there it is.
No,
Look at that.
What the fuck?
Can I point out here, first of all, not jealous of Doug's shirt game because he's like a budget me. Secondly, my fucking buttons are done up. They are done up. You might be able to see my nipples, but that's not my fault. That's not my fault.
What is the counter to it? Just try to get better positioning, better trade setups, and also, of course, get into flashes to potentially help you get the retakes into the sites.
I think the best counter is to get your head, stick them between your legs, and kiss your ass goodbye because there is no counter against FaZe. We're talking bullshit right now, but realistically in the game, is that shit really going to work step by step?
This week in Valorant, Masters kicks off around the globe. A new North American org makes their foray, and Sentinels gets quite the upgrade. Welcome back, everybody, to Valoranting Professional Ranting Show. I'm Mitch Leslie. I'm joined by Velly and Vansilli. Boys, congrats. Great debut on Masters over the weekend. The show was fantastic. How are y'all feeling? You've been working your butts off.
Vance, you want to go first?
Oh, man. You know what? I'm decompressing, so you go first. I'm Canadian here.
Oh, you're so kind. You're so kind.
Honestly, you decompress after the show.
Yes, right. Honestly, Uber, like, I believe that everything that we've seen so far with Masters has pretty much changed the way we look at Valorant in NA when it comes to play styles, storylines. We've always said from the beginning that NA and Riot has been extremely lucky with everything that's been going right in the scene. And this has been a dynamic fucking event. I love it, man. I've been having a lot of fun, seriously.
Yeah, I've been having a blast as well. I think it was pretty cool also to have Christine on the desk with us, to have Doug viewing in the Masters too. So nice that in NA Masters we got some new talent coming in and testing things out at the big stage, virtual big stage. All we need now is you, Mitch.
Yeah,
yes,
well, I mean,
please.
I mean, look, they already hired 3 fucking play-by-play casters and 1 color commentator. Did someone miss the memo that Rivington Bisland is not a color commentator? I mean, if you didn't know that, I mean, half an hour in, you probably would have realized that pretty quickly. Anyway, you touched on the Vice news as well, because we'll start talking about some roster news now. I think we've harped on this for long enough. First of all, obviously there is a very obvious large roster move that was announced this week, and we can discuss it a little bit later in the show. For now, we can talk about this Vice news, right? Because this is what I was saying about 6-player rosters. They don't fucking work. Like a 6-man roster is just an excuse to have 6 players and eventually cut one of them. Like this is the way it always goes. Having someone on the bench more often than not just results in one of those players that gets subbed in and out, getting used 90% of the time or more, especially in a game like Valorant, where there aren't that many agents in the fucking game, and you were swapping what, Zeta and Vice, presumably between or whoever was coming in and out, like they were presumably playing similar roles.
Yeah, it was Poison.
It's not like you have, it's not like you have like in Overwatch you have like I don't know, like there are quote unquote specialists, people that come in on some maps, but generally it's like half the time because certain maps because in Overwatch the fucking game type is different in a series, right? The game type changes. In Valorant, it's search and destroy ostensibly. So I don't really see, and obviously this is also news for Cloud9's other team. Obviously Katie gets brought into Cloud9 White now. I mean, that's great news for her. I think she's like one of the best players in North America by far, especially. But you know, I don't really get this personally. Having 6-player rosters, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I could be wrong here, guys, but I just don't really see why it happens.
I think the only thing that I think that is a good plus from having a 6-man or a 7-man roster currently in a tactical FPS like Valorant is for the health of the players, right? Because Astralis, for example, with CSGO, kind of did that so that Dupree could take a break, so that other people could take mental breaks, because it's challenging schedules, it's long days, it's long weeks. They're out and traveling like 45 out of the 52 weeks of the year. They could burn out. So you kind of just bring in a fresh, a new face in so that these guys could rest. And yeah, they're just basically going to be subs and phase out.
Who needs rest on Cloud9 though? They don't need rest. They need to get in the lab. Like this team, we're talking about Cloud9 that had TenZ and they were like the 4th best team in NA. Like they just lost to, and this not a dig at Built by Gamers because they're good. They lost to Built by Gamers, and for a team that we consider to be on the the upper tier, in NA once upon a time. I mean, this is pretty bad. To have a 6-man roster, competition is natural. We're human. And when that happens in a game that's not as deep as Uber has been saying this whole segment, I mean, change is bound to happen. Someone's going to want to get that permanent spot. And think about the health of the players and whatnot. Listen, you got to work your way up. You got to grind. I don't think that they're there yet. We saw this coming a mile away.
All right. We're going to start using 6-player roster for obvious reasons
Passive
going forward
aggressive
now.
team changes.
CLG have made their foray into Valorant. Now, maybe not in the way that some people would have expected, but in a way that I'm very pleased to see. They have announced that, a brand recently under their roster, obviously back in 2015, CLG Red was incepted. You remember Miss Harvey was a part of that team. She was the captain of that roster. They, CLG, have made a foray into Valorant in the form of CLG Red. So again, another great addition to women's Valorant rosters here as they make their way through, which is great. Nice little video. I mean, I don't know why Hot Shot's in the video. There you go. I mean, this is great for the scene, especially with the recent announcements and game changes. So big shout out to CLG Red.
Yeah, and Benita's the first one that's going to be announced for now.
Good.
Yeah, she's really good. I mean, she's also been a Counter-Strike Go champion with CLG before. So I think she's a great person to be captaining and helming the CLG women's team for the CLG Red. Who knows if maybe some of the CSGO players will switch over like she did and build that roster, kind of like Dignitas women are kind of doing. But this is a great start. She's an excellent player.
There's something a conversation to be had here right now, Uber. COG in Valorant? Am I the only one that feels
is that a conversation starter? Or?
I have a conversation for you guys. CLG in Valorant.
This is the rule of conversation. When someone says something like that and then they do the slow motion, that's when they're waiting for something.
Okay.
I was waiting for something when you were doing that.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Oh, I was creating a dramatic moment. Damn it.
So, guys, hot sauce and mayonnaise.
Mayo and fries.
Okay. Why is he going back further?
Oh man, but yes, no, I do agree. I do agree. So CLG Red, I think what you're trying to get to here, Velly, is they're starting off with Valorant's the women's team, and potentially, like, you know, as they've had a very big name in Counter-Strike Go in the early days, right? We're thinking about Hayes, Cutler, JDM, Tariq, PTR, like all those guys, and even some of them that are currently playing Valorant Pro right now have been in that CLG roster. FNS is another one. So is there going to be a chance that CLG wants to explore back into the men's side, for the league as well? Or not the league, but at least a tournament? That's left to find out who's there to sign right now. Cookie Koalas, pretty much.
Cookie Koalas.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there are like a bunch of like sick NA. Oh, who would I see? It was a bunch of players training for Beast Coast. It was like Odorous. There was like something on Reddit about it. There were actually like quite a few like sick NA players that were Superman and was it Superman?
Yeah, Superman's off right now.
Yes.
Like, Superman's unsigned. Everybody from Equinox is unsigned. Neptune, Odorous, all of I guess the ex-Slimy Rivermen who are now also
AZK.
yeah. There's also Cosmic Divide. Like there's a lot of good talent in the tier 2 scene, but again, they still need to make a mark in the tier 1 scene if you want to be part of a prestigious organization. I don't know if they have it yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, bear in mind as well, I believe the ruling, and this is made public, was that organizations could field 2 teams, providing that one of them, I think, was a women's team. I think that was actually sort of confirmed. So, you know, CLG, this doesn't have to be the entirety of their offering in Valorant, but as a starting point, I think it makes a ton of sense, especially now where a roadmap for competition and structure in sort of, Valorant esports for women and other minorities is sort of there. So it kind of makes sense that it's a great reason to jump forward. Another team announced recently, another women's roster actually, is Moon Raccoons. Moon Raccoons Black have announced that they're sort of getting back involved now. Obviously, we knew Moon Raccoons was previously a male roster. But yeah, so they've announced another team now they're going to put forward in towards game changes as well. So all of a sudden, I mean, who would have thought that if, you know, now that a scene and a roadmap was created for competition for women and other minorities, that all of a sudden it explodes and there's tons of talent. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest with you. I don't know all the names on this Moon Raccoons roster. You know what I mean? But I'm excited to find out about them and to see them play.
That's the thing. We don't know I don't know much about the roster either, but at least I know about the team name, right? And when you're looking at Moon Raccoons in the men's side, like they actually made a huge mark in the scene, and we're trying to get picked up as a full core for the longest time, and it didn't pay off. So hopefully this women's team is, and we didn't know much about the Moon Raccoons men's side either until they got noticed, right? So hopefully with this now, an organization, as your esports club t-shirt says, Moon Raccoons in the female side could actually turn some heads around, and hopefully they could get picked up by an organization overall as well, because I don't think Moon Raccoons has any back.
I love that they're doing it this early in the game's life, man. It's actually fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we're starting to normalize the fact now that women are here to whoop your ass in the game, and whether you see them in game or just on the main stage, just know that they're here to stay, and they're legit as shit. You know what I'm saying? Waiting years to bring that type of diversity will put damage on your esport title that you just can't fix. And I've seen it plenty of times. Shout out to Riot, Moon Raccoon, COG, and everyone else that's getting into this. I know another plan too that's happening with Riot, and they're killing it when it comes to diversity, man.
Wait, what do you know?
Nothing.
You know another plan?
No.
Hello?
No.
Wait. Sorry. Let me try this again.
Yeah, they're bringing in a what you call it? They're bringing in a Uber for diversity for the APAC region. That's it. Yes.
I'm a fucking white guy with brown hair.
Yes.
Nobody wants to fucking put me on a desk, and I get it. You know what I mean? Because listen.
You're white.
Here's the problem. Yes, but I'm better than the other white guys with brown hair. I just am. In terms of like the generic looking white dude with brown hair, I am fucking top of the totem pole, baby. So let's talk. Oh dear. All right. Yeah. So we mentioned that Cloud9 picked up Katie. Maybe something that we should talk about, which was something that was not known to people at all, was that Trippy was sort of announced as officially the coach for FaZe. We kind of know that, from hearing from Baby Bay, was involved. Just the line is unbelievable. I swear he cuts diamonds in his off time.
Dude, what is
like
up
straight
with
out of
these
motherfucking
players?
Jersey Shore.
Him and Baby Bay's picture profiles are fucking ridiculous, man. They look like Hollister, Abercrombie, and fucking Finch models, man.
Yeah, cats are here.
Like, what is up with their jawlines? Like, I'm sick of this shit, man.
Does he chew vulcanized rubber like
I've been seeing them on Instagram lately. Is that what they're using?
24/7? Like
I was gonna say,
little thing you chew on, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was like, you could work
Dude,
your jawline in 8 weeks.
We are all getting hit by the Google ads, man. Like we all type, this is why we all typed in, how do I get a jawline like Trippy? And now we just keep getting this shit served up to us on the regular. God damn.
Not even that,
I can't prove it.
The swagger shit that they're bringing to Valorant. Trippy gets announced, and next thing you know, he's in some fucking luxury whip, just jamming out to some fucking trap music. It's like, yo, who is this team? I like him.
Sorry about that, but I think my internet was being a little pain in the ass. I was basically just saying that like guy looks really attractive.
Oh, dude.
I love him, yo. I love everything FaZe is bringing to Valorant right now.
So shout out to Razura. She's like the main mod, or like the owner of the reddit.com subreddit for Valorant competition. So, or Valorant competitive. So there's going to be an AMA with Trippy tomorrow on Reddit if we want to learn more about Trippy, and also we potentially are going to bring Trippy next week on Valoranting as well. So that's going to be a good one too. But yeah, Trippy joining the roster came out of the left field, right? We didn't know much about this guy, but look at FaZe now.
Yeah, what we do know is that he had been involved with this team a while. He was I think he played alongside Baby Bay back in Crossfire.
Yeah.
I didn't know that like male models played games that much, but I guess there's two of them. But he, like, when Baby Bay spoke about how FaZe adapted and changed, a lot of this was to do with sort of Trippy encouraging them to actually think a little bit harder about how they move across the map and actually try and instill some of those sort of tax shooter concepts that maybe like DDK kind of touched over a little bit as well, like how to gain information, how to play off each other effectively, how to starve information, how to condition your opponents. So it seems like this extra level, this extra layer towards FaZe's gameplay was because of him getting involved. And Baby Bay said, yeah, when there was a time where Trippy, I don't know, for whatever reason, he was less involved for a period of time, we went back to being shit. We went back to just doing dumb stuff again. So it's pretty clear to see that he's had an impact. He's obviously,
Mhm.
everyone wants to know about this guy,
Yeah.
and not just those that want his number. So, I think that we will hopefully, from the AMA on Reddit, and maybe if we get the chance to chat to him, we really get to uncover a little bit more about the secret sauce in his FaZe Clan team, because it's a remarkable transformation. And, if Trippy can be attributed with that success, then that automatically puts him very high on my list of coaches.
Dude, if they win Masters this weekend, it would be fucking
Dog.
insane.
Unbelievable.
I
have
actually
him
hope
here next
so
week.
at this point.
So bear that one in mind, but let's move along here a little bit more to another example of stewardship of an esports team. I think this is quite a nice little segue. Obviously, Equinox recently dropped their roster. Now they,
Oh,
this is quite funny. So they announced these open tryouts, right? And Decop obviously, probably would have, maybe East Coast Trouble in Paradise. Maybe he would have thought of, maybe jumping on the Equinox bandwagon here. Realized that $20 a tryout is pretty insane. So it's almost like, these players have to pay to try out. I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Is he also insinuating that he didn't get paid?
Oh yeah, that looks like it, Vansilli. It looks like it. Someone got fucked in esports again.
Yeah, but
I mean,
yeah. Go ahead, Uber.
Yeah, I didn't really. Yeah, so there might actually be something there, and that's a good point, Vansilli, because the follow-up tweet is quite interesting. I think Zelsis actually quote tweets this. Love the guys at Equinox, but maybe getting paid $10K a month and losing to tier 3 teams means every qualifier was the reason you were dropped. So, I mean, Decop's implying that they weren't paid, but I just think this is so strange. It seems like, is Equinox trying to recoup the investment they made by paying these players $10K a month without any sort of notable results by charging $20 a tryout? I don't. On one hand, is overpaying players maybe for like really middling results. The other hand is trying to scrounge up money from people
Others.
that live
That's
in
a
Oklahoma City
desperation
trying to try out.
sleazy type of thing. It looks like, but Uber, I'm waiting to look at the article because there's more.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna find out about it. So this was, oh God. So Kelly Ong here, obviously, they go and have a look at here and see what some of the requirements are. So first of all, you got to commit to Oklahoma City. I mean, wouldn't wish that on anyone, but that's fair enough.
It's not
I'm
a bad
I'm
place.
kidding. I've never been there. Literally never been
It's
there. I'm just
actually
kidding.
Dude,
a
isn't
nice
like
looking
Dignitas over
place.
there? I mean, if I get to work Dignitas in Oklahoma City, that's pretty fucking dope.
Oklahoma City's
Right.
on the up and up. I drove through there not too long ago.
Yeah, listen, I'm willing to try. I've never been there, honestly.
I would never fucking live there though.
So first of all, okay, let's have a look at some of these. I think Kelly, they make some interesting observations here. First of all, must be at least 12 years old, but guys, possible exceptions apply. Do labor laws not exist in Oklahoma City? Or why? Excuse me? I don't really get this. Aren't there like limitations on your age for competing in VCT?
16, I think.
12
think it's
years
16,
old.
right?
You know what that looks like from someone that's been in esports and they understand Valorant competitively. Open tryouts for $20 and you're bringing in 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
What the fuck? No. Like, this isn't even funny. What the fuck is actually going on? This looks like some type of finesse.
Look, I don't know if it's like it gets into like a marketing thing as to like, how FaZe or 100 Thieves or maybe even FaZe, they're signing like underage content creators in like Fortnite or something like that, right? So you have like some young pros that are being signed into like these high profile organizations, and maybe Equinox is trying to go towards that route. But for Valorant, I mean, if we could go back to those screenshots to say what's expected, I mean, you have to peak at least at goal 1. You have a social media crash course. Like, what the fuck? And then here's the thing: if you get tournament winnings, you only get the percentage of it, not the whole thing. I don't know if it's like that for most organizations, but at least for the ones that I know, like usually if you win the prize pool, you pretty much win everything for as a player. But if you're also only going to be between 12 and 16 years old, first off, you can't compete. Man. And how the hell are you going to be at that position where you could actually win some prize pool in these tournaments like VCTs? Because you won't be able to qualify. You're going to be in the same spot. So again, you're still losing money. So
Go back to the article.
Yeah, I really think it's a marketing ploy at this point, just to like build more content creation than a team.
This is in person as well.
Yes.
Come
You
on.
must be able to commute to Oklahoma City or whatever, I think was one of the
Yeah,
things in there.
get on the plane during the pandemic. If you're 12 years old, give me $20 in
Wow.
trial for
Okay.
my
It's
team.
obviously for locals, guys. Like
No. But seriously though, but this is just odd. This is something that I would expect to see on LinkedIn. Like Uber. Like, let's be real. This is weird.
Even if it's local Uber, do you think you're gonna find a top 10 North American
No.
Like, do you
Valorant
really
team
think
all from
that?
OKC?
No, but that's a great segue into this next thing to show, because obviously Connor Knudsen is in a management role on this team. I remember him as a journalist in esports.
Oh,
Um,
man.
I linked this in Discord. I think we have this. Can we show up Goopy Noopy's response? Okay, so this is what he said. Here's maybe a little bit of context. So you realize this is not what many wanted to see, but I hope you'll take the time to understand the value we can bring to our city, the Midwest at large. Sorry, I can't really understand that with the information that I have available, because like this doesn't really, sorry Connor, but this doesn't really answer like the weirdness of some of the terms here. But he does mention, look, we're not going to compete at the same level as we were at previously with a fully local roster. But they want it, look, it's a local grassroots endeavor. So okay, if that's true, with all due respect, if this is a local grassroots endeavor, then why the fuck are you getting people to pay $20? Why are these
Why is there an entry
12-year-olds
fee?
shaking their parents down for $20 to fucking try out? What overheads are you trying to cover? If you can pay your team $10K a month, what overheads are you trying to cover, dude?
It's the social media crash course.
Oh, fuck off.
Social media crash course for a 12-year-old.
No,
How does that sound? Like, let me go out on the street, call out some women walking with her fucking 13-year-old, and be like, "Hey, you want to be an esporter? Give me $20 and move to fucking Oklahoma City,
Hey,
so I can teach
want
you
some
how to
esports?"
use Twitter and Facebook, so you can build a brand." It sounds weird, man. I don't know what to make of this.
This is okay. Like, so what it sounds like
This
is
is
they're investing.
predatory.
Yes,
well,
I get it. Like growing the scene or trying to grow at least like future pros or whatnot with whatever they're trying to do. I accept that. But again, if they're not going to compete at the same level as they currently are, or we don't expect much from their local team, what is there to compete in right now? Locally for Valorant, for OKC,
It's a
that you want to bring a
pandemic.
tryout. Exactly.
it just sounds like yeah. I mean, this is obviously on the assumption that, I don't know, like obviously this is a face-to-face thing, so you're doing that right now. But I don't know, maybe Oklahoma City has like a bunch of like red governors, and they've just like open everything back up. I mean, it's not fucking far from Texas, and you saw what happened over there. Like these motherfuckers are straight crazy. But what I don't understand is that the way it's framed from Connor is that this is like a grassroots investment, right? Why the fuck are you trying to recoup money already then? Why? Like, I don't understand. Like, look, you have to understand, like, this is almost why, I don't know why you're asking people to pay $20 to fucking try out. You know what? You should honestly, you should be paying them to try out at this point, based on like how shady this all looks like. You can do better. You can just do better. I don't really understand this. So can I appreciate the value that you can provide to Oklahoma City through your grassroots esports endeavors? No, because I don't know anything. I don't know what the scene is like. You're literally asking people to do something that they lack the information to do. And the information we have right now is that you have some very strange requirements. You haven't stipulated what proportion of the prize money you're going to be taking from these players. You're doing an in-person, presumably, meet where, what? So you providing the computers? So you tell me during a pandemic that people are going to use the same PCs to try out? They're just going to bring their peripherals in, or you know, I don't really understand. There's a lot of information that's not there. I just think the way it was framed and put on Twitter doesn't make a lot of sense.
Also, I think the biggest thing to point out right now, that we have a bunch of 12-year-olds, bunch of mouth-breathing, nasty-ass, unsanitary 12-year-olds paying $20 to go sit in a fucking room with each other during a pandemic to try out for Equinox.
Yeah, but 99% success rate, right? If you get it as a 12-year-old.
Survival rate.
That's the biggest thing to me right now. That is just irresponsible in every way possible.
I don't want to like bash on Equinox, because I still love what they did with the trying to win team.
They could be a great org, but that's irresponsible.
Exactly. I think all this sounds stupid, but at the same time, I think maybe if Goopy Noopy is listening, we'd love to have him on the show so he could explain himself a little bit better. Because sometimes when you're trying to write things on text, it doesn't make sense, and we need clarifications on all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, do you owe us an explanation? No, but I mean, like, I would like to know like the other half of this story. That's all. So,
Yes.
They don't owe us anything, but I think
It's
that I
weird.
feel like they should because, or they
well,
would
I mean,
want to
I'm
because of the
just
backlash
curious.
that they're getting from everybody, right?
I'm
So
just curious. I'm just
yes,
curious
yes,
about it.
yes.
Doesn't
Okay.
look good.
So as we move on, I just want to let people know that the next segment of this show will contain references to sexual assault and the kind of violence, and I just want to encourage you that if this is not really your bag or something that you don't want to sort of be around, and we totally understand. We encourage you to come back after the break because we'll be heading to a break on the other side of this particular segment. But I just thought I'd take this opportunity just to warn people now, as the content we're covering may be uncomfortable for certain audiences. Let's keep this pretty straightforward. Let's keep this pretty brief. Recently, that we have seen that there were allegations made of sexual abuse towards previous Sentinels player Sinatraa from their partner Cleo over the past, and this came out in the form of a twitlonger where she sort of shared some of her experiences with him. There were inside this twitlonger there were links to other forms of evidence that were provided sort of against Sinatraa. So these accusations definitely were perceived to have had some weight to them from the outset. And as a result, we saw responses that originated from both Riot or from Valorant Esports, claiming that they're aware of the situation and have launched an investigation. They will suspend him during the investigation. And that comes from Alex Francois, who's the head of Compops at Riot Games. This is obviously, and and it was mentioned that Cleo, she tweeted, she said, "I hope this investigation involves talking to me." So I think we agree. I also hope that. Sentinels also came out a little bit later. This was the next morning, 11:31 a.m. on the 10th, and they said that we're aware of this current situation. And we've launched an investigation internally as well. He's also suspended. This is very standard messaging for something like this. I hate that there actually has to be a standard established for this, but this is the world that we live in. So they have obviously promised to provide an update on that when they have these results. Presumably, law enforcement will be involved. And following up on this, there was a little bit later, there was a brief response that came from Sinatraa himself in the form of a twitlonger that said, it said this. So he obviously claims to not have perpetrated any of this assault, and that he will be cooperating with investigations going forward. This is obviously I'm choosing my words quite carefully because I spend much of this show, and we all do, sort of showing some opinions. I think that in this kind of regard, this is not, especially like you are looking at a show with three dudes, and we're not pretending to be anything else here. What I will say on this, and I think it's pretty clear that I don't think the Valorant esports scene will suffer from the ejection of someone who perpetrates sexual assault. Despite what concerns me a little bit is that the amount of people who are so willing to forgive this behavior, especially if it ends up to have been true and the evidence is pretty damning, the amount of people that are willing to see past this because they quote unquote enjoy his content. I'm going to say this one more time. Valorant esports scene will not suffer in the slightest from the ejection of an individual who perpetrates such behaviors.
Yeah. I wanted to add on to that too, as for me, it was like very, very hard to read. And it was, but it had to be read, as you said. Like you can't skip over this, Mitch. You can't skip over these things. And Cleo, sorry, like it took a lot of courage to write all of that out. And even it was even hard. Like I couldn't bear to listen to like the audio proof that was in there too. But I definitely do support her. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. And this is not like whenever these stories come out, we have to give them at least the time to read their story and understand their story and where they come from.
At the end of the day, I could go out drinking tonight, man, and I could walk home and not think twice about anything. I don't gotta think about shit. I'm just a black dude. Ain't nobody gonna come up to me and assault me. No one's gonna harass me. No one's gonna rape me. No one's gonna do anything like that. And the thing that makes me so upset is that when someone comes forward with a story like this, you, I don't give a fuck who you are, DeFran, anyone else out there. Us with the responsibility and a platform, whether you wanted it or not, it doesn't fucking matter at this point in time. You have a responsibility to grow the fuck up when it comes to moments like this.
Mhm.
And for the fans, the viewers that are out there, I don't give a fuck how good Sinatraa is. At the end of the day, we all need to understand that what was written, what was shown, and what was said is out there. We need to figure out, excuse me, we need to wait and be patient and see what the end story is here and what actually happened before we jump on and harass the person that's claiming that they're being a imagine you get shot and like or beat up or robbed or something. You go and you ask for help and someone turns around and does it again. As dudes, we don't get that, but as women, they do all the time.
Yeah.
Honestly, grow the fuck up. That fan shit has to go out the window. I don't give a fuck if you're 13 and you're a huge Sinatraa fan. If you're a grown ass man, then I think even worse of you. But we need to respect what is going on. We need to respect the process. If you don't do any of that, you're a fucking detriment to society, not just the scene in the esport, not just the fucking video game. You're a detriment to society. You're actually the fucking problem. You need to realize that the shit that we take for granted every day as dudes, like this is some real shit I'm saying right now. Is on the lines of like when I try to talk to a white person about racism, I always preface and say, I know how crazy this sounds to you because you would never witness this, but this is real and just try your best to respect that. Think about it this way when it comes to women as well. Because this shit is not a fucking game. You came from a woman. You're probably gonna have a daughter later on in life. And you're gonna remember this fucking moment that when someone got sexually fucking assaulted and she came out asking for help, that you backed the person that she's talking about and you attacked her. Don't be a piece of shit. Have some respect. And we need to go about this the right way. Like we need to support her, make sure, she's comfortable, she's feeling all right. And you know what? What if Sinatra's even innocent? We need to wait and see what happens from this investigation. People are looking into this. This isn't
Sure.
a small thing.
I think that it's really important. You can wait to see what happens without casting doubt on the person that brings the allegations. I seen this same fucking conversation happen on Twitter where these guys are like, oh, well, we don't have evidence, we don't know, and people are like, listen, we are. It goes without saying that there will be a process involved here where an investigation is carried out by multiple people, not fucking Twitter detectives. The problem is not that you want to see the results of the investigation. The problem is that you need to cast doubt on the accuser in the process, thereby not only harassing them directly, but bringing further harassment upon them. They included some damning evidence that, as it was pointed out in chat, that to have to sort of to include that incredible vulnerability is frankly
It's
quite a
insane.
superhuman effort. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Obviously, like, I mean, I don't want to platform this, but DeFran, you're a fucking idiot, mate.
Yeah.
You're actually a dead shit. For the way that you responded to this, it is so disappointing to see that you have such a wide reach and you tweet some ass backwards bullshit. Go back to your farming and bury your fucking head in the dirt, mate. Is just if you don't understand, if you lack the capacity to understand, or you lack the empathy to really engage with an issue like this at all, you just need to stop. You just need to step away from the pig seat. You need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and like I said before, it takes a lot of courage for somebody to come out with a story like this, and this is one story out of probably a lot more that currently is happening right now that doesn't want to come out into the public light. And now that it comes out to the public light, it's not our job to debate against each other as to who's right or who's wrong. Our job is to know that with our platforms, or just even us as humans, that we have women friends that could be going through this right now and they're too afraid to speak up. And we just have to do a better job in terms of making sure that the women in our scene and the women that we know, whether it's in game, out game, in real life, are comfortable and are gonna be okay moving forward.
One
like,
thing,
like Velly said, right? It's like, sorry, Velly, like you were saying, it's like we're dudes, and we don't have that fear of having to walk home or traveling alone or anything.
We have a
like that.
responsibility to fucking keep our guy friends accountable. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
that too.
That's and that I feel like isn't happening. Like shit, I remember when I was like a young little incel, and there were times where I didn't speak up where I should have, and I'm so ashamed to admit that. You know what I mean? And I I don't want to allow that to happen again. Listen, guys. I mean, I'd like to move on. I think we've sort of said our piece. I think there's a lot more to come from this. I also don't want to grandstand about it because frankly, it's got nothing to do with me. But here are some resources for those of you that fear or have been affected by sexual assault in any sort of way. These are American resources. So if you're in the United States, these are resources available to you. If you or someone you know you fear has been affected by sexual assault, domestic violence, or anything like that, in the ticker below, and I'll let this stay up for a little bit longer, there are also resources for people from the UK and such as well. So I really encourage you to make use of these, because quite honestly, 3 dudes sitting here being very upset about something doesn't do this justice. If you or anyone you know is affected by something like this, strongly encourage you to reach out for help and advice from people who are far better equipped than we are to help you through this. And again, just to button this up, I want to express great, we're very impressed and proud that Claire was able to step forward with such a difficult bit of news, and we encourage everybody to encourage her not to cast doubt on her as the investigation is proceeding, or maybe just keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, have some fucking empathy at the end of the fucking day. That's it.
All right, we're going to be back after the break, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some real talk to cover in terms of the actual gameplay. Masters obviously has been happening so far over the weekend, and we're going to get to that. But we're going to take a quick breather. I think we all need one. And we'll be back on the other side of these messages for more Valoranting. Welcome back, everybody, to Valoranting, where we now will take the opportunity to take a deep dive into what we saw in Masters over this weekend so far. We're going to put under the microscope, and who better to bring on than 2 blokes who were actually paid to talk about esports over the weekend. Vansilli and Velly, you guys were on the analyst desk here.
Yeah.
You guys got up to a lot of ridiculousness, including unbuttoning your shirts, you fucking clowns.
I didn't do it.
Actual fucking clowns.
That was great.
I chilled.
That was great. Yeah. All right.
Give me like another year and a half at the gym, and then I'll join you guys. But for now,
no, fuck that. Fuck that. We got on an official Riot broadcast, showed off my little squiggly chest hair, wore a fucking Versace robe with a fucking Cuban link chain. We lived our best lives, man. So we ain't no apologizing here, man. You wore a Snuggie, a Jedi Snuggie on a Riot broadcast. Who can say that? Oh yeah, my bad.
I kind of wish we did our rush hour thing, eh?
Yeah, we still got this weekend. No, it was fun, but yeah, Vans, man, this event, man, it's good to be working with you, man. Hopefully
someone remind me why I'm trying to get you guys paid. Can someone
Listen, I mean, I gotta, you know what? I'm gonna go into Google right now so I could give Dan like a fucking picture of you and Matt in like a fucking gold dust shirt, and you're gonna fucking tell me
fucking clothes on. You utter peasant.
Wait.
And
What was Uber wearing for the Overwatch Grand Finals? That's super fucking. He was wearing the sun on his jacket, right?
I mean, my Grand Finals drip was
that was nice, dog.
At least I had the buttons done up. You fucking plebeians. Like
we were copying Doug, by the way. It was a Doug thing. Every time Doug
don't worry. I know, but he's not on this. I know he's not on this fucking. I mean. You're a clown, Doug, but he's not on this fucking podcast right now. He's not on this show. So I'm talking to you guys because you guys aren't any fucking better for doing it.
Actually, don't put me in that category. It seems like when Doug was telling me that I changed my prediction from 100 Thieves to Sentinels because 100 Thieves got smashed on the first map, I didn't unbutton my shirt. I was just holding my dog chilling on my desk.
Tell you what, if I hear Holy Toledo one more time, I'm going to burn all your chest hairs off. Next time you fucking do that.
You know what?
You're gonna
Based on that, I'm not afraid because first off, I'm Asian. There you go. There it is.
No,
look at that.
What the
fuck?
Can I point out here, first of all, not jealous of Doug's shirt game because he's like a budget me. Secondly, my fucking buttons are done up. They are done up.
Wait,
You might be
Mr.
able to see my nipples, but that's not my fault. That's not my fault.
Where did
The
Mr.
fucking
Well,
buttons
I
are
mean,
done
Did he from?
that texture looks like it was pretty comfortable to wear because
No,
that-
my nipples were bleeding.
Oh.
They were bleeding. Yeah.
Got a
Oh,
hard
man.
ass nipple, dog.
The
Now, why
hoodie
did we,
is
why
pretty
did we
dope.
do this? I think it was like, I think we were just flexing on everybody else.
That
I
is
think.
great. I
And
never saw that.
People out here trying to act like this trend of wearing wild shirts is just popped up, just fucking started happening.
Oh, no.
Okay, I royalties to me. All right, a portion of all the money you spend on these fucking shirts that all look like mine that I did first, I'll take a percentage. Thank you very much. All right, listen. I did it back then so I could distract people from my bad casting. Okay, y'all aren't wearing it well enough to distract people from your shit casting.
I look okay, Uber, okay? Uber, no disrespect. I look fucking
Oh my
kind
God.
of sexy
listen,
on broadcast.
Belly,
gotta
I'm never
admit.
coming for your style, bro. You
Mwah,
got
I love you.
way too
Mwah,
much of
mwah.
I mean, you are way too far ahead of me.
Thank you.
Am I claiming to be a fashion? No, I never use
No,
that
no,
term.
you
I-
never have. You've been real as shit with me. I want to see you rock something crazy on the Valorant broadcast.
Gatekeeping
like that,
fashion, man.
That's
Let us
insane.
let us
Today-
get our fashion, man.
Today, what am I wearing today? I'm wearing the anti-esports club collection. So here you go. Like trying to keep it simple here.
The anti-esporter.
No. Look, in all fairness, it was a lot of fun.
It
I thought you
was.
guys brought a lot of character and personality to.
Thank you,
to
thank
us.
you, thank you.
It's nice to see Rivington back as well. Obviously, we saw him on the Twitch Rivals show with Velly. But
See.
yeah, getting him involved there was always good to see. It was like some great talent on that show. Let's jump into it though. Let's have a look at where we are at. It's not over yet. We got another weekend of this shit. Hopefully, I mean, the dress code takes a different direction. But right now, we know that sort of FaZe Clan and Sentinels are set up for a fateful matchup in that upper bracket sort of final. But I mean, guys, just in general, what are
Dude.
some of your favorite moments we've seen so far?
Sure.
Take it,
I mean,
Vance.
Yeah, I guess the first one we could talk about is one of the underdogs or the dark horses that we think that would make it into at least pretty far in this tournament got knocked out and lost their two first games. It kind of felt like the story of Renegades, where they're like blowing up and then coming into making it to the top 8 and unfortunately just bombing it. But looking at Immortals, they didn't really bomb it that bad. Look at this match right now at 14-13. This second match went to overtime at this point. And the reason why it went into overtime was because of like a tremendous heroic play from Steel with a fucking Bucky into the A site that just wrecked
Tremendous heroic.
Immortals. Tremendous heroism. There you go. Thank you. Right? Does that work?
I particularly I was devastated to see this. I have never seen more incredible paint shell usage than I did in this map.
Yes.
Chemicals was getting like every ring at least a kill. I mean, DDK mentioned it, but I don't think I've ever seen more raised grenade kills ever in a match of Valorant.
So, and sorry, this is the first map, and it shows how much Immortals were really prepared into this, because somebody like Chemicals, to get that many paint shell kills, it means that you understand the positioning, where 100 Thieves are currently at, what they're trying to do in terms of their Sage combo with the paint shells on their side, on the B side site. But Immortals, unfortunately, when it came down to the gunfire, they just couldn't, they came in short versus 100 Thieves.
Really? Are you an analyst and you're saying they just didn't have the firepower to win this series?
Yeah, I'm allowed to say
Honestly,
that.
I think that's
bitch.
pretty fair to say. I think
It
the
is
one
fair though.
the-
I mean,
the one
if
thing
you're
that-
two guys running into the site and the Seal's behind the generator with a Bucky and two shots you from across the map and you die, it's not because you're bad. It's just because, again, you lost the firefights, but to sometimes RNG and just unlucky motions. But after that, Immortals had to play against LG, and that was another great series between those two teams. And finally, LG was able to come back and get their much needed revenge against Immortals, right? I mean, Stellar at the end of the series in his interview is like, we don't let a team beat us 3 times, and what a better stage than this one to actually get that third time's a charm for Luminosity. And you look at the series of this game, and you look at the series of the past of LG and Luminosity overall. LG and Immortals overall. It's been pretty close games, or at least a very good series.
I will say this:
yeah.
Immortals really did grab the short straw. Uber, I fucking love
Yeah,
you, dude.
dude.
No. Honestly, like, I'm gonna take a look at the way they lost, like the really close game against 100 Thieves, and then the one play that comes to mind. I mean, take a look at Moose and his clutch with the satchel against Immortals. That shit that you just can't account for. Immortals is a really good team, but it just fell flat on its face at the end of the day. And it's fair to say sometimes that they just weren't better than these other teams. And this is really what we expected. Well, what I expected, to be completely honest. I
Man.
think say Uber, what?
I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I actually hate how Immortals as an organization do things at the managerial level, but I love. I'm such a fanboy of this team. Like, I'm just a JC Stunny, and I just in chemicals. I just love this team so much.
Shut up.
They look good, man.
They got done dirty in this bracket, dude. I honestly, I feel like them versus LG is like Gon versus Killua from Hunter x Hunter, right? It's like these epic, like, these training partners just slugging it out. I just, it's a shame, like, at least one more map Immortals.
I mean, the best example out of that one was probably the Haven, right? Where Nature got like a 4K or at least a 3K into the round on Haven, and then Stellar comes out with a 4K of his own to actually win the map for the team.
That was nuts.
It's pretty fucking nutty how good it was for these matches for Immortals. They've been very close, maybe not from score lines, but from round to round. It was really, really nice.
Honestly, I'm the type of motherfucker I'll be like, yeah, this team should have done this and that. They could win, yada, yada, yada. They slacked. Yo, I could look at Immortals and I'm actually happy with their performance. They got knocked out, but they weren't shit at all. It was just fucking unlucky, Uber. They got bracket fucked. Like, even looking at Gangsta, like, the best way to describe Immortals in Masters, when Gangsta got ice walled off on a Ascent and there was nothing he could fucking do. Like, no matter how hard he tried to win, there's just no winning. No, like, that's Immortals.
Dude. Fuck, man. God damn it.
Wait, are you that mad because you did predict for Immortals, right? Yeah, that's why it's so
what is on the line in predictions, right? I mean, like, it's really just pride for that, but I don't know. I just was personally attached to their story. You know what I mean? I was personally attached to
of course.
Fucking infamous in the chat talking shit. All right, bro. All right. Let's talk about one of the most hotly anticipated matches then in this bracket, right? Because we see 100 Thieves, they go up against Immortals and they dispatch them pretty handily. Sentinels and Luminosities, a slugfest. Then we get Sentinels versus 100 Thieves. And you know what 100 Thieves do? They do something that only they seem to do every now and then against top teams. They drop a fat fucking goose egg on Ascent. They get 2 rounds on Ascent against Sentinels, and I'm thinking, I mean, come on, guys, like, they're map.
Why though?
Historically, they're quite good on Ascent. Like, they are genuinely, like, Ascent was the kind of map that, you know, teams would pick against Sentinels, like the Luminosities and such, and would have a decent time of it, right? So we know 100 Thieves are really good on that map. I like the way that they use Ethan through middle of the map. He looks very, very good, especially these sort of late round. Like, when we see 100 Thieves defending, Immortals do this as well, actually. Late in the round, if there's no action from the attackers, they'll just like randomly peek catwalk and on defense and just get a couple kills. But this was not good at all. It looks like they get read by a book, but like TenZ just styles on them. Sick looks incredible. Guys, break it down for me. Because this doesn't go the way you expect it to.
I'm going to be completely honest. This is something that 100 Thieves should have known, and they should have banned Ascent the moment they found out TenZ was on Sentinels. Baby Bay didn't just start this playstyle. The reason why TenZ was such a fucking animal in the first place, you take a look at the way he plays on Ascent. Him rushing into this ace site as Jet, that's a lot of what we see with Baby Bay nowadays, but just fucking everywhere. But it's even more dangerous and deadly now for the simple fact that Sentinels, during the first series that they had, they ran a strat where Sick and TenZ were on opposite sides of the map, and they both ran in to frag out, and it works. I believe that both of them went like a combined like 14 or like 10 and like 2 for entries. That is fucking nuts when it comes to opening up the competition. And if you're going against a team that specializes in plays like that, 100 Thieves, they were bound to lose. The middle control just wasn't there. The way they use Asuna in middle, especially Nitro and the ice wall, it just didn't work at all. You have to be cognizant of the fact that every time now that, you know, these single lurks are going to be there, you're going to be going against the likes of the best player in the game, especially when it comes to 1v1 duels. And 100 Thieves, I get Ascent. The second map looked way better. I think that they can be more successful if they look at games the way that they did Haven. You have to spread out this roster, man. They learned way too late.
But here's the thing is, and Uber, you probably agree with me, is that whenever we see a series with Sentinels that has Ascent and Icebox in that series, we were like, oh shit, this actually favors the other team, and that was the
Yes.
3 maps that were in there.
Well-
So there was a chance that I believe that 100 Thieves were pretty much ready for Sentinels based on their own game plan. Why? Because Velly, remember when we did the Envy versus FaZe matchup, right? And we're like,
Yeah.
man, what can Envy do versus FaZe on Icebox, because Food wasn't getting the amount of kills that he's getting. And
Yeah.
we were theorizing that maybe it's a breach or maybe it's a Sage.
I
right?
agree.
Sage to slow down a Baby Bear or whatnot. So you look at this matchup versus Sentinels. They have a Sage on Ascent. The plan was probably to slow down TenZ to be as aggressive as he is. Same thing for Sick. And on Haven, they have a breach. So
Yeah.
they had a comp that could pretty much work well in theory with what we're hoping in the aggression of TenZ coming into the matchup. But Sentinels definitely read them. I think Sentinels counter-stratted 100 Thieves in this matchup, especially on Haven.
There's something that Vansilli just said, Uber, that's really important. He said it without saying it. Is that it's for the simple fact that going against a team like Sentinels on maps like Ascent or just period for now on, how they can spread the map and be as lethal no matter who's on which corner of the map. You got to bring in a comp lineup that fully counters Sentinels. And we're talking about those skies and breaches. You're going to have, that crowd control, those stuns, those blinds, that extra bit of information with the guided lights. That's how you really get to the side of Sentinels, because rushing into sight with a breach flash, I mean, just one time, we saw how TenZ and Sick reacts to that, right? You need to start pumping that out like tenfold against this roster. You're going to have to make them look sloppy if they want to play this way. And 100 Thieves, like we said, they just learned way too late, but they can still come back and beat them. I still think 100 Thieves can best them.
Look, I mean, TenZ seems like a plug and play prodigy
Yes.
in this kind of roster here. Do you
Look at
think
this
that there's
round.
some?
Oh,
do you
this
think there's
play,
some
this
leeway?
play right here. This is what I'm talking about, yo. This is fucking insane. How do you even beat this at this point?
The Sick and
Well, I
TenZ
mean-
combo, man, was so sick on this one.
That's Hiko. He's definitely not on the site, though, is he? Yeah, no, he's waiting for everyone else to get. I mean,
and
look,
still
in
has to
fairness,
lurk. Yeah.
Do you think that you know how
Dude.
sometimes we talk about grace periods, right, for teams when they have adjustments and like they take time to improve? 100 Thieves, we gave him that with Ethan. Now he looks really good. But I almost feel like the shoes on the other foot here. I almost feel like we need to be fair to opponents of Sentinels in how they read that team, because adding TenZ, while you may say, okay, it's not like they really had to reinvent the wheel to find a way to integrate him onto this roster. And yes, Shazam may have been looking up Sova lineups on his phone during the game or whatever. Isn't there a world where teams actually might need some time to get adjusted to learning how to read Sentinels now? Because
Whose fault is that?
I mean, no one's. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like with an unknown, with a volatile quantity like TenZ who just comes in and it has such a high impact off the bat. Like, you better figure it out.
But
This
I mean,
is-
go ahead, James.
Sorry, Velly. I just want to say that this is probably the question or the thing that you have to think about for all of these teams right now, even from the beginning of 2021. Because again, we go at Nursery Gamers Winners Championship. I think it was LG that wins it, and then another one in the Challengers, Immortal wins it, and then like everybody's asking like, how the fuck are these guys playing? How are they beating them? And then suddenly they're slowly falling off. Look at the results of Immortals right now. People have figured out how they played, they adjusted to that, and boom. Then you get into these matches where 2 weeks ago, FaZe comes out of nowhere, and they're, like I said, they become a 2-gear bicycle, and they're just catching players and teams off guard.
Yeah.
And Envy could be as prepared as it can be, but when they actually face it in the server and they're like, holy shit, this is like nothing like we planned, then you
Yeah.
have to adjust to that period going into, for example, this weekend for Masters. So I think every single team is currently one-upping each other in a
Yeah.
scene every single week, every single 2 weeks, where they're. I think this is why it's hard to find consistency at the top tier level, because there's just so much adaptation for all of these teams right now.
It's one thing to adapt to a team between series, right? Where you have time to look at tape, you can sort of figure out what their tendencies are, try and see if you can identify any trends. It's another thing when TenZ just steps in and just rips balls on you the entire
That too.
series. you have to figure it out while you're under pressure. And I don't know like what impact like coaches can have in this sort of in this sort of situation.
That's the beauty of Valorant as well, because a lot of people at the top they have CS mindsets. And Sean said, I know FNS, he's an IGL from CS, I'm an IGL from CS. We have no idea how to fucking stop this. But then you have, players coming in. You had a Gears of War player knock out a fucking pro player on the big team. I forgot. But these other players are coming up with these ridiculous play styles that you see from other games. And I think that that's when you're going to see now when all of that experience from these different types of shooters is going to come into Valorant and drastically change the scene. Because this is some, like, Baby Bay and TenZ sometimes be looking like fucking Genji, fucking flipping around in the fucking air, Uber. Is actually insane. So it's going to take mindsets like that says, okay, this is his play style. How do we actually stop that? So NA, the adjustments going into this next weekend, these teams got to be studying hard, dude.
Yep.
Let's talk about the other semi-final game featuring FaZe Clan and Team Envy.
That was bad.
FaZe Clan, I mean, I think our expectations of FaZe Clan were justifiably high coming into this event, but I believe that there were some of us here that expected Envy to be quite dominant, and they were, how do I say this? Not. They weren't dominant. And I actually read, and I think it was an excerpt from an interview piece. I want to say it was from Run It Back, but I don't want to misquote it too much. But Mummy basically says, in this series, we could either have played passively, played for retake, or tried to match FaZe's aggression, but we did neither of those things well. So Envy seems to feel like that they didn't adapt, or they didn't actually play a distinct way, which is bizarre to me, considering that I find Envy to be one of the most cerebral, one of the most considered teams in global Valorant competition. And yet they seem to what? Did they get lobotomized during this series? Like, what happened?
FaZe had control of the whole map. Go ahead first, Velly.
I think that Envy is one of the most dynamic teams in regards to versatility of play style in all of Valorant, right? I think they can do it all. I think the one thing is they got shook. They got shook. As simple as that. They tried the I think it was a double or triple flank strat that fell on his fucking face. They tried to play passively. It fell on his face, but it kept FNS guessing, and that was the beauty of Baby Bay and that unpredictable play style. But the one thing that they did that actually worked, there was one round where Caboose on defense pushed up the pipes, and he was able to get a kill. But the thing was, it worked, but he wasn't able to get the second kill, and there was no one there to get the retrade anywhere out there at all. So it was just like, okay, you realize this beautiful moment, but it's all for nothing. And they never ran anything like that again. FNS and that roster kept guessing, and I think that's ultimately why they lost. I think that they can beat FaZe because we saw things that did work, such as that Caboose play, but you're going to have to stick to it. You're going to have to be persistent. I feel like teams going against FaZe, the Sentinels, they have it all wrong in the head. You can't play them trying to adapt. You need to, no one out there is trying to make FaZe play their play style or try to play against their play style. When you try to react, and it's like you're trying not to lose, and FaZe, they're playing just to win.
Here's the issue too, as like it's very hard to find an answer versus FaZe's play style right now too, because Sean even mentioned it during the broadcast. It's like, if you're going to try to go face to face against FaZe, if FaZe is going to be like, okay, we're going to rush towards you and we're going to fight you, and you're getting these duels, you are most likely going to lose those duels because of Baby Bay and Corey. And when Envy was trying to do that, it didn't work out. When they tried to go with what they tried to prepare, it did not work out either. So that's why I was saying that FaZe had control of this whole map, even series, versus Envy, but especially on Icebox, it was very notable. I got to say that from what I saw from Baby Bay, when he was trying to get into the A side, knowing that Food plays towards A on defense, he was gunning after Food. So they look for the star player for the team, for any team that they play against, and they try to knock him down first with Baby Bay and Corey together. And mostly it's Baby Bay without Corey, because like I said, they win their 1v1 duels quite easily from the way Baby Bay's been cracked. And then when we had the interview with Marv after winning Challengers 3, Marv said, look, our game plan looking at Baby Bay is if he's going to go after two duelists, if he's fighting two duelists and one of them is Asuna, he's going to go after Asuna, or two players, and there's one player in there, and it's Asuna, he's going after Asuna. So they have game plans to shut down star players. They just do it in a way that looks very unorthodox and that it's hard to analyze. But again, there's a method to the madness.
There's an underlying factor, and this is going to be real fast, Super. I think it's massively underrated for the fact that FaZe Clan has support players that could frag the fuck out. And we always hear excuses about that as well. Like, whenever there's low numbers, support doesn't play that role. Everyone on that team is fucking dynamic, dog. When Rockets comes up for a trade, he's going to get a 2 or 3K. Same with everybody else on this roster. And Zachary was a fucking standout.
Yep.
Okay, no, I mean, I wasn't trying to interrupt to add my own insight. I'm going to ask you guys to earn your money. What do you do about a team like FaZe? How do you approach a team like FaZe? Because you can't, you basically just said if you try and match them with the aggression that you get stomped. But why? What makes you think that playing for retake is also going to help against this team?
It can. Van, you want to go first? Or you want me to take it?
Go first, because I don't think they have a solution right now.
No,
retake plays either.
there's no solid set in stone solution, but I think that this is where we start really bringing out that heavy utility dump. But like again, Sky and the rest of them. And when FaZe is consistently sending 4 people in Corey on alert, send out those guided lights. You're gonna know. You're gonna know that they're gonna keep attacking A. Stack that site, stack that flank heavily, and try to push it together. But go in there with flashes. You can't go against FaZe trying to get the 50-50s. So if you have a Sky or a Breach on board and you're just bombarding them to where they can't react, see, or shoot as well as you, that's the best type of answer you could have. But I think that the way XSET went into it, just being dry against teams like FaZe are just gonna outplay you with the gun skills. So you're gonna have to think differently about that. Let them fall into your trap. Envy actually got Mummy on the op. And Mummy is really passive with the op, but then they even had him take the op over to B, knowing that they were going A every time. It's little details like that that will always set you behind FaZe if you go against them.
Yeah, I think now you just go into aim labs, Kovacs, and DMs and just fucking do as much as you can and just drill that movement in.
So you're telling me
Mollies?
You're telling me that teams literally just need to mechanically get on their level.
No. You know that you
I
can't.
do.
You cannot fight fire with fire when fire is burning like fucking. Yeah, I was gonna say a bad joke.
Motherfucker.
But that's the thing. So, man,
It cools you down.
So Uber, if you're gonna fight against Mike Tyson and he punches hard, what are you gonna do? Punch him hard too and see if you can win?
I'm just gonna cover my fucking ears, dude. I don't know what you want to say.
So, Vance, what you think, man? That's difficult. Because what if the team isn't built to frag out like that? Then what? What if you only have one really good fragger or duelist?
The reason why I'm saying that is not because it should become a bloodbath and just a DM for 24 rounds at the minimum.
Because that's how G2 got kicked out of Masters contention, by the way, by trying to play like that.
Yeah.
They got rolled by Defuse doing that.
I was just saying that you practice your Kovacs, your aim labs, and your DMs so that your aim is a little bit more crisp and on point when it comes down to the strategy that you've already implemented. For example, like a team like Envy, when you're developed the way you are and when you have a deep map pool just as Envy has, but now that you have players that could practically frag a little bit better than they can now, not saying that they're bad, but to be closer to a level of FaZe, then you give yourself a better chance. So you're not going to punch as hard as Mike Tyson, but you're going to have to try to punch him still, right?
I mean, I'm going to try and just kick him in the balls. I'm not going to play by the rules.
Well, that's illegal.
You know,
don't care. I mean, it's illegal to be that big and that scary. Here's a question from Simo in chat for both you guys. I'll open to both you guys. Do you think that a triple sentinel comp will be effective against FaZe? Just to have like a really strong ender half? Like, is that like a direction you can take it in?
I was going to answer that. I actually think that could work because if you take a look at the way the Sentinels play on defense, they're notorious. I mean, let's take a look at Haven. They're going to run down C long. They're going to push up B. They're going to be on those corners ready to push you. And the one way Envy was able to combat that is by playing passive and just playing for picks, right? The thing is, you're going to have to do that. Set traps, set mollies. If they're running in on a scent, like take them to maps like a scent. Make it to where it's built form to where they can't really stretch out the lane. And if they want to push in the site, have Killjoy's mollies there. Shit, fuck it. Even put Brim there with a stem to even help you out in those fights. You got to think outside the box like that. Like, honest, I'm being dead serious. If their play style is
Brim stem to fucking be funny.
like fucking something. Pray for fucking Jesus. But like realistically speaking, if they want to push you, play into that. Let them push into you. Let them step into some mollies. You know what I'm saying?
If you're going to play triple sentinel versus FaZe, I agree with Velly that you're going to need to pray because that's not going to work.
Okay.
The reason why
Traps,
is because
all that.
No, so here's the thing. You're going to put trap wires. It's going to get dashed by Baby Bay. You're going to put satchel charges onto the ground. It's going to break the mollies. It's going to break every alarm bot. And when you're placing it and you know where these players are playing, it's or how they're setting up their defense, it's just easy to cancel out all of their stuff when they have rockets with shock darts and everything. That gets easily canceled out, and you have nothing else but your literal game fire and gunfire against your opponent, so it's not going to work. You try to put a sage wall up, they're already there. One clip, it sprays it before the wall comes up. I don't think it's going to be effective. It just has to come back to wombo comboing with flashes or trying to find different ways to counter as soon as a dash is done from Baby Bay, or as soon as Corey is done with a double satchel charge into the site. What is the counter to it? Just try to get better positioning, better trade setups, and also, of course, getting the flashes to potentially help you get the retakes into the sites.
I think the best counter is to get your head, stick it in between your legs, and kiss your ass goodbye, because
Yeah,
there is no counter against FaZe. We're talking bullshit right now, but realistically in the game, is that shit really gonna work step by step? Like you can't account for that at
What
all.
movie was that? Was it like Chicken Little? I seem to remember this was like garden animals trying to escape. Isn't that where that quote's from?
Charlotte's Web.
No, I think it was Charlotte's Web. It was some movie that snakes on the it was snakes on a plane. Oh yeah, that's
Snake-
right. Yeah, yeah.
Motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
No, there was another movie. It was a kids movie where like there is also that same with it. Like there's a bunch of garden animals, chickens or whatever. They try and build a rocket, I think, to escape from this farm, and that quite appears in there as well. Anyway, yes, snakes on a plane. Right. I'm not a movie buff. Sorry, I watch anime. Obviously, circumstances required Sentinels to make a last-minute roster change. Well, let's start with that. First of all, there was a ruling from VALORANT NA that said that in the light of these exceptional circumstances, the exception was granted to allow these guys to find a player. Obviously, it couldn't come from any other team. So to comply with this rule, 2.3 of the Global Competition Policy, terms and conditions apply, Sentinels have acquired all rights to TenZ. He will no longer represent Cloud9. Now, when I read this, I thought it was permanent. I have learned since then that this is a loan basis.
Yep. It's a loan.
Fucking you
It's a
guys, I
loan.
swear. So I think it was I think initially Fionn tweeted out that this was more of a permanent move, but then sort of updated and said this is not actually a long-term move. Because let's be honest, you think Jack Etienne is just going to fucking give TenZ to another team? No, that buyer is fat as fuck. He's going to make sure he gets his money's worth with this player.
But how does that work? So they buy out his contract for VCTs, and when it's done, Cloud9 gets the rights back.
Yes.
So did
Presumably
they?
it's
So,
that's a loan, isn't it?
It's a loan. It's a lease. Yeah.
and then with
um,
Riot, then they approve it that it's going to be technically by that loan. You're not representing that. Okay, so
It's
basically,
a play on words.
basically the contract would say like during that 2-week period or whatever, TenZ is not allowed to do anything C9 related outside of he's not allowed to do anything C9 related while he's competing in VCTs, probably with the contract.
Well, there's plenty of precedent for this in football, in European football, right? That
Soccer.
players are loaned soccer.
Cricket.
Yes,
Soccer, dude.
players are obviously loaned out to clubs for a period of time, where for all intents and purposes they represent that club in every way, with the caveat that as that loan period expires, they return to their team. So it's likely that there was. This is an assumption. I don't have the information. There's probably some transaction that occurred in order to secure the rights to use TenZ for a period of time. There might have been a with an option to buy sort of clause, and maybe because I would say, and what we sort of know is that Cloud9 have been shopping TenZ for a while, but a lot of the top teams, the teams with that actually with the money to spend on players like this, didn't need a TenZ, or didn't think they needed a TenZ. So I know it's real football, Nolo. I know. But so since this match against Luminosity, fans have been expressing their desire to keep TenZ around permanently. Shortly after it was announced, some comments started popping up, and people wanting him to be permanent. And TenZ is like, it's consideration. I mean, he has said he wants to compete. He still wants to compete, right? I think he didn't want to be on a losing team. He said
We
that he
all
wanted
knew
to play
that.
LAN. Yeah, he just didn't want to be on a losing team. So I don't think that it will be hard to convince him that Sentinels would be a good option for him. But it's not really about whether he wants to. It's about whether that cash money, them greenbacks.
His interview said it feels good to win.
Come on, dog.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Hey. In what sport or what fucking esport in the fucking universe have we ever heard a fucking story like this? Imagine fucking, I don't know, Tom Brady, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson retiring, and then the moment Super Bowl or playoff weekend starts, they're like, all right, we're gonna sign with this team, and then they have performances like that.
Yeah.
Sentinels will be out of their mind if they don't give him the bag. And Uber, I called you out on air. I told you you need to back with the Brinks truck, man. The performance that we're seeing from that, I don't care if it's alone or whatever. At the end of the day, Sentinels are fully invested in Valorant, and it has showed big time. And I'm pretty sure when franchising start, I can guess that they're going to be there as well. So when this happens, TenZ is a franchise player. We're not talking about a role player. We're not talking about a fucking smoke main. You know what I'm saying? Someone's going to watch the fucking site for you. We're talking about the main guy that other teams are going to have to game plan against. And when that happens, You give them the money. You make sure that this loan becomes permanent. And I can see it happening with Sentinels, man. If this doesn't happen, then we're gonna have to start questioning, if it was possible. Is this a blunder? Did they fumble the actual fucking bag?
Look, I think all the conversations around the loan thing was all pre-Masters, and now that you have seen week 1 of Masters, it just started.
It
It
makes
starts to look
sense.
like sense. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. No pun intended, but it started to make sense that TenZ should stay permanently.
I mean,
I
listen,
agree.
Jack Etienne is a very shrewd businessman. So I guarantee you, Sentinels will have to cough up the dough for this.
Yeah,
And I think like there's extra pressure now on them because people are saying that they really like TenZ in this roster. Let's dive a little bit deeper into exactly just how badly people were eviscerated by TenZ as he jumped in. Well, it wasn't just cheesiness, but let's talk about, first of all, guys, the impact on the rest of the Sentinels roster, because there was a role change that was required to
Dude,
some degree with
they're
TenZ
better.
joining the team.
Mhm.
This is where you talk about it. Yeah, so this is how I set you up. Fans, we casted together. I do this, right? I throw out a statement and then you respond to it. So go.
Usually I do. It's just I felt like I was going first the whole time, so I thought Velly was going to
All
take
right,
it.
okay.
But I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it.
Okay.
So yes, they did do some comp changes. I think on the first day, because the night before TenZ was announced that he was going to play with Sentinels, then it just became, okay, TenZ, we're just going to plug and play you in spots, in the spots that you're supposed to take on different agents, because I was theory crafting the whole time that TenZ is going to stay on Jet, and what's going to happen here with Shazam, for example. But here's a perfect example. TenZ plugs and plays into what was left as a gap. He takes now Reyna as a role, and he's about to almost get a fucking ace on a pistol by dominating Luminosity. Then on Split, they plug and played him into the Raze, and he played tremendously well. But then you saw in day number 2, on other maps where they have a Sova, they're going to keep Shazam on Sova instead and not put Shazam on a Jet so that TenZ could play Jet. And that has worked tremendously for that team too. Like, it looked very good versus 100 Thieves. And I think now you might have potentially less flex players from Sentinels, with the exception of Sick, for whatever map that they need to play. Because Shazam looks very good on Sova, and TenZ looks very good on Jet.
I feel like putting TenZ on the team and saying, "Hey, who's your best player that you want to play with?" And him saying that
Yeah.
obviously push other players to play in their best roles as well. I think the fact that now we have less variety and people changing agents is going to create
Yeah.
a lot of more consistency. Like, let's be completely honest, Shazam just being on Silver for now on, being able to hold down a lane with an op and IGL that way, and not have to do too much. While Sick and TenZ are in the forefront, and we all know who Zoms is going to be playing on. We all know who Dapper is going to be. This team is now going to be even more consistent than usual, because my main gripe with Sentinels, especially coming into Challengers before Challengers 1, and I questioned them, is the fact that they were battling inconsistency. They were. They were. They were good, but they were still battling inconsistency. And now they just look head and
mean-
shoulders above the rest of the competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're fine. I think you're fair to say that. This is what me and Vance were talking about. They kept losing these like icebox maps in like the Winter Championship and in
VCT
like
ones, I think.
in the what was it, the Complexity Invitational? Were they
LG
VCT
was
one?
clowning
like,
them
yeah,
too
yeah,
sometimes.
something like that, yeah.
Like they were constantly in the lower bracket as a result of like losing icebox, which they were picking, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Shazam is in a similar position now to Skadoodle. What Scar was put in, right? Like moving over to a more facilitated role. But this also means that Sentinels, at least for the time being, are actually playing double duelist on Icebox. So we saw a lot of teams that actually play single duelist on this particular, or some that play none, especially in Europe. But Sentinels will be one of the few teams now that are still forcing the Reyna on this map for TenZ, but also playing the Jet. So I don't know how long that will remain to be the case.
Yeah.
Also, I think like Sick has shown that when in that situation, Sick plays a really good Sova. This team's fucked without Sick. Like the guy with the roles that he can play and how he can sort of move to cover. That is pretty incredible. I also think like you have to shout out to Shazam for adjusting like that. Obviously, you expect him to be selfless anyway, but it doesn't mean it's not worth congratulating him for, especially when he was very public about it being very hard to get good practice on Sova and being able to sort of deliver it in that way. So that's a franchise player right there, someone who can who can do what needs to be done there. And
You have a
By the
franchise team,
way-
man. You have a fucking franchise team right now in
You
Sentinels,
do.
to be honest.
I think the scariest thing about Sentinels, and it was Riv that called it up too, on defense is really nothing special. It's like you have your two best players in Sick and TenZ on different sites, and they do nothing. You walk in and they're just gonna fight you. I just looked up on defense in that whole series. Sick was 30-16 on
Yep.
defense with Phoenix, and TenZ was 26-17. Sick
Yeah.
on defense, 8 first bloods, and TenZ 7 with only 4 combined first deaths between them.
Yeah, he
That
looked very, very good.
doesn't make sense.
Well, he looked like he was constantly interrupting a lot of the pushes that were coming his way. You know,
That's where they
constantly,
put
just-
TenZ too on the cent, in the middle.
Yeah, wouldn't they? Or even on Haven, like the two played on the seaside, right? And Sick would just constantly just throw like curveballs around the box on the seaside and just like push after the
Dominated.
flash. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of that, and at the same time, like while these guys are working extremities, you had Dapper that was fucking pushing mid every time and getting flanks. So I think they read 100 Thieves perfectly on the second map on Haven to push at the right moment. If it's not mid, it was A side, it was C side. Like that's why I said as much as they don't look like as much as you may think, like I did, I underestimated Sentinels, thinking that they didn't come with any practice and that it's going to be a little bit sluggish. They looked already like they've been scrimming for like a month and a half already.
Yep.
Yeah, so very impressed with them. We want to see a little bit more what they can provide us over the coming week, because of course they still have much more to do to get the job done. Something that I've been interested in as well, seeing how our map pools come out. We sort of talked about, for example, how Sentinel's map pool works. The fact that Ascent gets picked by 100 Thieves, and 100 Thieves just sort of, then just shit the bed, I'll be honest with you, on that map. You can see here, so thank you to the spike.gg. We're partnering up with them again this week to provide you some of these numbers here, and we can take a deep dive into their stats. Like 100 Thieves, I mean, looking at their map pool here, right? They're a split band team. We kind of understand why. But you have to wonder why. They're 12 of 15 on Ascent, 80% win rate on Ascent. And yet they struggle so much against Sentinels.
Yeah, and just to let you know, these are all the stats from Challengers and Masters, right? And
that's right. Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, so if you're going to take that 50 maps that it was played, you're looking at VCT 1 and 2, and it took them the third one to qualify, right? I can't remember. Nonetheless, though, what I'm trying to say is they didn't have Ethan, in the VCT 1s, and then now into VCT 2s, or when you start to look at them later, like, they actually didn't look that great with Ethan coming in on Ascent. But then the second time that we see them again with how Nitro was playing on that stage and starting to, I think, get like at least 20 kills on that map, we're like, okay, we see why they wanted to take Ascent. And we see why they were practicing Ascent, or we see the practice coming into Ascent at that point. So I think it makes sense for that pick. It's just they haven't had a chance to test it versus teams like Sentinels yet.
And what about their opponents? Gen G, the team that 100 Thieves is going to be going up against in this, in this lower bracket around here. Gen G's map pool, I mean, a little bit of a different story, right? I think that, I mean, both these teams ban split by default, right? But looking at how these map pools go together, right? Icebox is also one of 100 Thieves' best maps, and Ascent is awful for Gen G. So just seeing this map pool, like, I'm a little bit worried for Gen G, because I feel like Ascent is going to be an important map for these two.
Yep. Velly?
Oh no, I was actually, I'm not gonna lie, I was actually looking up Gen G on the spike. Well, what was the question?
No worries. So then I'll just let you.
We'll bring it up again. Bring it up quickly. Again.
Yeah, we could bring it up, and I could mention it real quick, and then I'll pass it to you, Velly. I think just overall, going head to head, looking at these map and how deep this map pool is for both of these teams, I do have a fear for Gen G as well, because Ascent is usually a map picked by Gen G as well, and it hasn't been going well. And if they're going to pick Haven is another map that 100 Thieves have figured out as soon as they brought Ethan in by putting Nitro on that breach.
I don't know. When I think Gen G's problem is just them as a team. The map pool is just really fucking weird. Like looking at the play styles as well, like there was a lot of questions about like, when we saw Sean with late starts. I don't think the conversation is really about their map pool, but just their individual performance. Lately, Gen G, a lot of people are high on them, and I get it. I get why, but I think that they have personally just been battling a lot of inconsistency on that roster. Win has been a lot better recently with that, and I love to see him be aggressive and all, but like when you play games and Sean is slacking and everyone else, then just the maps just aren't in the equation. It comes down to play style and how he gets in the sight, because that first series, I think I said it on broadcast about how Sean like was the first blood like 4 or 5 times in a row, and do we blame the map? No, I blame the route that was being taken and the precautions that weren't there. So I think Gen G's bigger issue with not maps is how they can be more together as a team.
All right, so
was that a cop-out answer?
No, because I would have used the same argument as it's being brought up in chat to describe the issues with 100 Thieves on Ascent against Sentinels. So I think it's fine. You have to consider some of the intangibles, but there are tons of tangibles that we can rely on as well. Speaking of tangibles, we have numbers for that. So let's talk about this Envy Luminosity game because these two teams have very different map pools to the ones that we've seen so far. Envy are the kind of team that will play split and are fucking good at it. They are very good at it right now. So obviously they, like they're 8 of 9 on split during challenges and masters, right? So think about like going up against teams like Gen G and 100 Thieves. That's not a factor because split's insta-ban for those teams, right? But their opponents in this next game is Luminosity. Now for Luminosity, I don't believe that split is insta-ban for that roster either. So
they played it.
You get now, so across those two different lower bracket games, you get vastly different map pools, right? I think the insta-ban is Haven for this team, which is fascinating to me. I always find like the pick and ban gets way more interesting when the two teams have very different insta-ban maps. So like you can assume that like Bind is going to get taken out of the picture here as well, but we should expect to see split played, and and that alongside of Ascent have not exactly been stellar for excuse the pun. For Luminosity, right?
I think
so
this is actually going to
be played in this series. What gets played in this series?
I think we're going to see a lot of retake maps. I always thought of LG as like Envy Light when it comes to retakes on their setups as well and the way they attack that. So when you take a look at maps like Split, Bind with the teleporter, and then Icebox, I think those are the 3 maps that we're going to have to heavily consider. I mean, you take a look at Icebox, for example, like Stellar on that map is actually really smart. Like the way that they don't even use the ice walls to even block people off. They use ice walls for simply retakes. Like it's really beautiful when that happens. So those 3 maps are going to be my pick.
Yeah, if we want to go back to it, so Haven during the VCTs was like also the insta-ban map for Envy until they got into like the Masters where they just let it open because they got the victory versus Sentinels during VCT 3s, if I'm not mistaken, on that map, right? That's where Food got like the 4K backstab or the 3K backstab from the sewer side. So if you're looking at this, if Haven, they're okay with leaving that into the rotation.
They haven't lost it since they brought it back into the rotation, right? They look, but they haven't picked it though. They never pick it, but they still won it every time it came out.
I would love to see them play. I would like to see Envy throw a curveball and try to pick a Sin as well to go against Luminosity.
Well, here's the thing. So LG, their permanent map ban is going to be Haven. So you're banning Haven out of that one, and then just most recently, Envy has been banning a lot of Ascent in there, right? So going into the Masters, they've been banning Ascent. I think they banned it versus FaZe, if I'm not mistaken, so that they could have Haven in a rotation. So I think if you're banning both Haven and Ascent, you're going to have a Bind Icebox and a Split as the series in there. And LG might have a chance versus Envy on Icebox, just looking how Envy played versus FaZe. But the other 2 maps is going to be very tough for them.
Yeah, that's going to be one to look at. Here, I want to bring up something interesting. Let's have a look at FaZe's stat because they have changed as well recently.
Of course.
Dude, so FaZe previously were banning Icebox every single time. They're banning Icebox constantly, right? And they want to play Split all the time. They now are picking Icebox and they have not lost since they have started picking it. This looks like a pretty good map pool. Ascent, obviously, they're at 70% win rate. They don't pick it very much, but they're doing everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're playing. I think they're playing less Split now, though. I think that's the map that's starting to get less attention from them.
There's something on Icebox that they do that's really annoying, and it's been helping them win that A site every single time. And it's the opener for Baby Bay. The fact that Baby Bay is able to get a lot of kills, especially on those equal and pistol rounds, like the ult is definitely going to be there, right? But it's when he goes pipes on attack, Bays on attack are fucking ruthless for the simple fact where it's like, as a defending team, you're going to be like, all right, are we going to stack this side? Or are we going to spread it out? And if we spread it out, we play passive for the retake, or do we fight and risk losing 1, 2, 3 lives? So Baby Bay has this thing that he does where he does an updraft when he's on pipes. And not only that, but he does it all around their side to try to get fast picks or information. And then they just dive in after that. And it has worked so fucking well. That A push, that opener by Baby Bay is everything. I think it was, the second series where he jumped up with the ult and was able to get the knife kill on the Omen that was even there on the other side. It was just, what do you fucking do? Icebox just makes so much sense. But the question is this newfound success, or have they just been hiding this the whole time?
Yeah.
Infamous in chat. CS players can't aim upwards. Icebox is the Overwatch map. Fucking hell.
It kind of makes sense.
I mean, it's kind of
the
true.
verticality.
Yeah.
The verticality is definitely a new field, but I mean,
That's just helping him.
When the map first came out, that's where everybody was complaining about it as CS players, right?
Has no one ever seen Boostmeister DreamHack? Hello.
I'm being serious. Baby Bay is the only player I've seen that's abused the verticality on that attacking side of A.
Okay, it's because he fucking double up drafts.
But it works.
Knives.
But it works though. That's like if you play a man game, you say, "Oh, you just throw bombs at Randy Moss and you're winning." It's like, all right, but I'm winning though.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do to stop it?
Even Scoots is like, hey, Nuke. And that's the thing. Like, when you're playing a map like Nuke on the T side and you're trying to get into the A site and you want to make sure that you're going to be able to get out of hut freely, then you have to make sure that you have the right execution for the smokes and flashes to cover out ladder, for example, right? So you can get in.
Yeah.
In a game like Valorant, there's not that much in terms of like setting people in to like try to get the verticality entry onto a site like Icebox. Like A site Icebox is probably the weirdest map.
Okay, Nuke is weird for a bunch of different reasons. If you're playing rafters, then I guess the verticality matters. But the problem with Nuke is that getting from the sites are actually very close together as far as like you go. Like if teams want to hit B, they have double or triple smoke container outside of the map and like try and go down through lobby. Like it's just really roundabout. It's just a weird map.
Yeah,
I just had to Google what Nuke was on CS:GO.
Yeah, dude, it's not as complicated as a Rainbow Six
so
map,
left
to be
out.
fair.
Yeah, sorry, man.
R6 maps are ridiculous. Like that's
yeah.
You have no
like
idea.
R6, every single map is fucking Nuke because there's like 3 levels anyways. So
stairs and shit, man.
Yeah.
I'm getting the
fucking walls and oh my god,
leaning like we. Oh, it's fucking wild to me.
I love it.
Let's get on. Let's have a look at Sentinel's graphic here as well, because obviously they're going up against FaZe Clan. It has to be one of the most hotly anticipated matches in recent history.
Man, yes.
They don't play bind. They don't want to touch that map. So that probably gets banned here by Sentinels. One of the few teams. What other teams ban bind? I don't know. Either way, across the rest of these maps, they have. Look at this. This is. I mean, they don't pick. They don't pick a scent, right? They don't ban it, but they don't pick it. So they usually still deal with that pretty happily, though. But they're trying to pick Haven a lot of the time, and they're more than happy to play split. With TenZ, it could be a different map pool, a different story. But I mean, this is a pretty robust map pool considering they don't have to worry about playing bind.
Yep. Whatever you ban here for FaZe, it's just like, okay, well, we're comfortable playing like the other 2 maps. I mean, even if FaZe is going to take bind or ascent, it's just going to be nothing but a bloodbath between these 2 teams.
Oh.
I think that we don't really fucking care what map like these 2 teams play, because I find that the jet for both of these teams from TenZ and from Baby Bay, they're still able to get so much out of any type of jet dash updraft on any single area of any single map. That's going to be good enough for them. I think now you're just banning for the sake of banning a map, and it doesn't matter what fucking map you play.
I think the scariest thing about this pool is the fact that we've seen Sentinels slow down their gameplay, but not really FaZe Clan yet. If I am Sentinels, I'm gonna take them to maps like the ice boxes and the havens. You want to have those long sights. I would feel more comfortable betting the op in Shazam and TenZ's hands facing those long line of sights to stop FaZe. Like honestly, this is probably gonna be the most exciting game of Valorant we've ever seen, man. This is gonna be fucking crazy. I hope we get a scent the first map. If we don't, it's a disservice to the entire fucking community.
So we're definitely gonna get Ascent, Icebox, and Haven in that series.
Yes,
I think that's a pretty
Ascent,
easy
Icebox,
bet.
and
that is the best
bind,
case scenario for viewers and them.
All right, I mean I'm already getting tingles thinking about how sick that series is going to be. I hope it delivers. I hope it doesn't disappoint us. But yeah. I send me lob on. I don't blame you, mate. I mean, like I'd be getting excited about this one. Y'all
if I was wearing a gold shirt, it'd be bleeding right now for sure.
Wow.
Wow. Callback humor. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Shit. All right. Fucking smart ass. All right, let's move along here. And let's talk about our predictions, because again, we're going to put our money where our mouths are. I got fucked on with my do you have to show it again? Like, could we just have it? Okay. All right. So obviously, Ryan Central says FaZe Clan. Bala said Sentinels, reasonable. Vansilli said Envy. Yeah, that's all there is to see on that graphic. So let's look at that. Fucking God, get me out of here. Let's get a new one. Let's have a fresh one now, because we have a chance to benefit from a little thing called hindsight. Now that we've seen our first week, we have a chance to, like, Vansilli, your prediction, was it Envy that you predicted?
I predicted Envy, yes.
Okay. I mean, any thoughts, updates to that after they got kind of rolled?
No updates, because I said at the beginning of the broadcast during Masters that Envy is going to take it all, so I had to stick to it. So I have Envy that's still going to take this, but the chances of them, like if we want to be honest here, the chances or the confidence that I had them making it to the finals is not going to be as high as I thought that it would be last week.
But still high enough for them to be your number 1 pick. Is that what I'm getting?
Correct.
Okay. Brilliant. So Vansilli is going to be locking in Envy. Velly, you didn't have a chance to predict your team last week, so there's no point
This is
asking
kind
you
of
what you
cheating. This is cheating.
Why?
Because it's already past the first weekend.
No, it's fine though. But this is based on the information we have now. Okay, maybe you
Dude.
tell me, who would you have picked before this week? Would it have changed for you?
I would have. Fuck yeah! I would have picked Envy,
Okay.
man. What the fuck is
Okay.
going on here?
Yeah.
This whole time Vansilli was talking, I didn't even listen to what he said. I was legitimately thinking if it's gonna be between FaZe Clan and Sentinels. I'm being dead fucking serious, and I was like trying to balance that shit, man. I'm gonna be real, dog. Oh, I'm rocking with Sentinels.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm
Shit,
rocking
dude.
with Sentinels. They're gonna take it all, dude.
Oh,
Nice.
Velly
That is
going
very
into...
hard.
Nice.
Like it got to the point to where I was actually putting together like matchups on maps where players were to see like who has a better chance of winning that shit. Like flank watch and like all those scenarios. And this is the hardest fucking tournament Valorant has ever had in NA to predict, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%.
That's what makes it
100%.
actually good content.
I'm
All right, well,
stressed.
here's what I'm going to say. I'm reaching this sort of stage of enlightenment as a human now that I'm realizing that the more I know, the less I truly know. You know, I know enough to know that I know fuck all. Elrond looked at me. He said, "Cast the ring into the fire." I said, "No, I'm on Team Smeeg, baby. FaZe
Yes.
Clan are going to go all the way."
Let's go! Let's go!
Yeah.
You know what?
He's
I
joined
mean,
the dark side.
these are all great picks, and to look at this board and to think that 100 Thieves are not going to make it.
Dog.
to think that that 100 Thieves is not being predicted with our 3 guys here on the desk or on the show, it comes to show how much like Sentinels and FaZe have,
No,
have,
I
like,
think
you know, it's
seeing them,
grown.
that Ascent map really hurt my confidence in them. I think that is a map that has to be tight. You need to, no one is banning that map right now. It is going to be in every single
scared me.
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
And I didn't love that. I think FaZe Clan, what they're doing is really, really exciting. It's great to watch, and they're just kind of nasty. So
Baby
yeah,
Bay
I'm gonna-
is the best jet in A.
Yep.
Best player in
that's-
A. Next to
That's
Sick.
what I think. I'm gonna much more defensible than the. Now I have some information to go on, right? But I still wish that Immortals were in the picture at this point. I think if they were even in the lower bracket, I still might take them. But I mean, the way that I saw the planned style of Envy get completely dismantled by this raw, violent speed and momentum of FaZe Clan,
It made
it's
so
very
much
hard
sense,
to bet
though.
against them.
Dude, so as much as I want to agree that Baby Bay is the best jet in North America, fuck, man, like
Say
TenZ
it.
looks fucking good.
Oh,
I
TenZ
think-
looks fucking scary. But the thing is, the only difference, and the reason why I'm saying this for now, because we haven't seen it from TenZ when he's come back yet, is that Baby Bay is literally like leading everything for FaZe. Like literally leading everything. He doesn't have help like Sick on that roster, even though the players have been playing fucking lights out.
It's got
So,
Corey.
so we still haven't seen all of TenZ yet. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, fuck it,
'Cause
Corey
TenZ
doesn't. Yeah.
Corey compared to Sick though, like, yo, let's
it's not-
kind of
it's not
be
the-
real for a second.
And I think it was one of you guys mentioned that it was that Baby Bay just kept going after food, right?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Ryan brings it up here as well, is that FaZe are very good at targeting that MVP
What's up,
and
Ryan?
shutting them down, right? So yeah, I think that's a great point. Ryan obviously did predict FaZe Clan last week, and I think that he's in good shape. So here's the question, right? Can Sentinels function if one of their star players is shut down? That's what we're going to be waiting with bated breath to
That's what the
find
team is
out.
built for, not FaZe.
That's it. And now we have the unenviable task of spending a few days without NA Valorant action, waiting for these matches to happen. But bear in mind, Masters are still going on in all regions right now. So make sure you get your fill of multiple regions. Of course, Europe is looking pretty exciting now, as well as their group stages are advancing. Brazil is kind of wild in terms of their single elimination stuff. I can't wait to see it. Guys, thank you so much for yet another fantastic podcast. We had some, I think today was one of the most difficult we've had to do for obvious reasons, but it's great that we all can also take a step back from some of the really sad and disappointing news of this week, and and embrace some fantastic Valorant action. It has never been a better time to be a fan of Valorant, especially in North America. So thanks, y'all. There's never been a better time to be flanked by you two good-looking gentlemen, and good luck again on the Masters broadcast
Love
on
you,
this
Uber.
coming weekend.
Love you, man.
Yeah, you deserve it. Nail it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us so far. Hey, if you want to see any of our previous shows, you can find it now on YouTube. We have our own custom URL, youtube.com/valoranting. You can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/DNpeak. And of course, you'll hear on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DNP. TN Sorry. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this week. We'll see you next week to wrap up Masters and more. For now, though, it's goodbye.